Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hollywood Dish, the show where we dish all things Hollywood. As always, I'm Rebecca,
And I'm Nicole.
and we're back again. We have a very special guest today, so the people who are on video will be able to see, but we'll so we're ready to talk about her. Nicole, give me your weekly update.
My weekly update. I am going to choose my words carefully because you never know who is watching or what they want to do about it. But I was H word this week on Instagram. There's a really
I saw
good
that.
there's
I
a
saw
really
that.
good show on HBO Max called Hacks, and it's the word hacks the way you say about like a comedian. Oh, they're hack that word, but in a different context. I'm being very careful because I mean, they're always watching. I can't believe the way that people can get into our systems and our technology. I'm like amazed. I'm
Is
impressed.
it fixed? Is it fixed now? Because I've been
No.
avoiding DMing. Okay.
Oh, don't
So
touch.
basically,
Don't
Nicole has
even.
been like, Nicole's account, so not Nicole, has been trying to like get
Yeah.
people to sell crypto with her.
Yeah.
And it's that's so annoying. I'm sorry, but it's honestly
No,
the
it's
messages are pretty
funny.
funny.
It's like I'm really into crypto now, and people, I feel like it could be believable if it's someone from like second grade who hasn't seen me in 15 years, and they're like, oh, I guess she's like really into crypto now. Okay, sure, because they're DMing people that I haven't talked
I
to in
got a
20 years.
DM.
So yeah, if you're out there and you got a DM from me, it wasn't me, but when I get it back, I'll try to DM you as me, but hopefully I get it back. So that's really my update. But I've been doing so many other nice things that I'm trying to be in the moment about because I can't be on my phone about those moments. I saw Funny Girl on Broadway in previews 2 nights
How was
ago.
it?
It was really good. I do have thoughts and reviews, but I think the culture of Broadway is to like not give full reviews when you're in previews to be like out of respect. Which I this was the first time I'd gone to previews as like a self-proclaimed Broadway freak. That's crazy, but it really I'd never like had that experience before. So it's cool. I think that the things you might hear on like TikTok about the show, it's like it's not it's not the original. It's not Barbara Streisand, but it's reimagined and it's really amazing. And they're doing things with it that like it's awesome. It's exciting and it's cool, and I'm curious to see the reviews once they come out. And I do have a theory that everyone in the show looks like actors from Glee, and
Yeah.
it's freaking me out. Jane Lynch is in it, who
Well, okay,
played
that's
Sue.
that's actually the comment I was gonna make is like I hope the reviews are like overwhelmingly good, just so Leah
Yeah,
Michelle could not read them, have them
right.
read to her, and she will just sit there and just be like just I want it to succeed so
Yeah,
like
no, but it's this
importantly.
weird thing. It's like everyone looks. I don't know, but I want to hear when other people see it and it goes on Broadway for real. It's so creepy, but that was so lovely, and I had the best time. Rebecca, what have you been up to? You're feeling better?
Yes, I'm feeling better.
Good.
I've been up to nothing because I've been sitting in my apartment, but I know because so 5 days was Monday and I know I could leave, but I still like felt uncomfortable leaving. So I waited till I got a negative PCR. So I got my negative
Oh
PCR last
no.
night. I left today to get some groceries finally, and it was like such a breath of fresh air. And I don't know if it's because I've been inside for this long, but Seattle is 75 degrees. Everyone's in shorts. I'm like, I don't know what happened this
Oh my
past
god.
week, but it's incredible. So I'm in all good mood right now. I mean, it's sunny, so no complaints. The sun's still up, so all good
Cannot
here. But I
relate.
think I
It's
think it's time to
pouring rain over
introduce our
here.
guest.
I do too, and I'm curious what her weather is like because she hails
Yeah,
from a place where the weather what you have two have in common. People talk about where you're at and the weather there all the time.
yeah.
So, without further ado, this is a very special day because our guest is the first person to join the Hollywood Dish Two Timers Club. It's a very special club. We're gonna make jackets. It's a one person club now, and it's you are the inaugural member, and you definitely know her if you follow all of our shows. If you've watched us here, her name is Morgan Killoren. She's an amazing panelist here on the SNL Network, and we're just so excited to have her. Morgan, how are you doing? And how's your weather?
Thank you for that amazing intro, and I'm excited. I'm a two-timer. Amazing. Yeah, I'm in Chicago right now. The weather is always pretty cold, but sometimes it's like up and down. It was a little rainy today. It's been rainy the past like couple weeks. But, you know, some days we get that like 60-degree
Mm-hmm.
weather and like very random. But yeah, I'm in Chicago. Actually, this past weekend I was just in Dallas for the first time, visiting a friend, which was so exciting. Loved it there. So warm there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
getting back into my routine back in Chicago from a weekend trip. But yeah,
I
I'm
feel
so
like
happy to be here.
everyone's going to Texas lately.
I know. I feel like
Texas
it's
is
like
the
a
place.
new
Well,
thing.
I wouldn't say that.
It feels
I was
right.
gonna say
There are
I
things we don't like
understand
there.
now though.
Yeah.
Like I understand being older and like I enjoy talking about the weather. Like I am curious. Like I was really curious what the weather was like in Chicago, and I was like thinking earlier. I was like, oh, I always used to laugh because like old people, as in 23-year-olds, would
Us.
always talk about the weather, and I'm doing it. I find myself doing it. So just an
Oh,
observation.
I
I am
love
getting
it.
old.
I love talking about the weather. It's pouring rain here in New York City. I'd say it's the rainiest day we've had in months, probably. It's just like it's like when you look outside, it's gray and musty and creepy and eerie, and I love that type of weather, and I make it such a personality trait. I'm
You
like,
should move to
"Oh, it's
Seattle.
raining." I know. Well, the thing is, I like to be unique. I'm like, "Oh, you guys are like complaining about the weather. I'm
Mm,
living my life." So I feel like I like to be kind of the outlier. That's like my little
that's fair.
thing. You know, I have it's like my Aquarius moon whole situation. I'm like, oh, everyone's complaining. Well, I'm living my life. So I like took a walk in the rain. I don't believe in umbrellas, which my hair doesn't like when I don't believe in umbrellas. So that sucks. But you
Yeah, you
know,
get shunned in Seattle for holding an umbrella. I'm not even joking. There is umbrella slander.
wait,
You
I'm
Why?
don't do
obsessed with
it.
that.
No, you literally like it's a thing, and we have an umbrella. We actually lost it, so we're umbrella-less now, which means we're really Seattleites. And you literally will be in an umbrella, and people like give you dirty looks and like act like you're bump ramming into them because it'll be raining and not a single person with an umbrella. It's actually insane.
Okay, you might have just sold me. At first, I like being the only one, but I'm obsessed with that. Like that those are
Yep,
my people that you're describing.
it's
Okay, well,
crazy.
catch you in like a few months. Like be
Okay,
ready for
cool.
me.
I'll let you know
I'm
the next
coming.
rainy week. You should come.
Yeah. Oh, I'm moving. No, next time I'm not visiting
Oh,
you.
you're
I'm
just
moving.
moving. Okay,
I'm just
perfect.
moving. I'm obsessed with the rain and I love people who are obsessed with the rain too. And how amazing like talking about the weather. People put such a bad name on talking about the weather. It's like, "Oh, when you don't have anything else to talk about." I disagree. I'm fascinated and I love that we all feel that way.
We're like,
I could do this forever.
we're decently into the podcast, and we just went from being Hollywood dish to like Hollywood. I don't know. Maybe I'll serve it.
Hollywood
Like,
missed.
yes. It's okay. Why don't we get into a story right
Let's
now
get
so we
into the
stop boring
stories.
people?
As fun as this is, I'm truly in heaven and with the clouds that are raining on me right now. That's where I am. But we'll get into our stories and we're going to circle back to the weather. So if you came here for weather talk, have no fear, we're going to come right back to
As
it.
per usual, yeah.
Yeah, if that's your hook that gets you here, we're going to come back cuz we are totally with you. Without further ado, here is our first story of the week. And it is it's an interesting one. It has a lot of flares that we have talked about in various capacities over the weeks and months. Kanye West was supposed to be one of the main three headliners at Coachella, along with Billie Eilish and Harry Styles, and he pulled out with like a couple weeks to spare. And Coachella was kind of scrambling to figure out how are you gonna replace Kanye. People pay to see specific acts, and Kanye, as controversial as he is, humongous star. People would pay to see him. And so it turns out that The Weeknd and Swedish House Mafia are replacing Kanye West in that headlining position at Coachella. And the most recent update on this is that The Weeknd is demanding the same pay that Kanye West was supposed to be getting, which would be 8.5 million, and it's a lot of money. But I mean, I think that you deserve whatever the person that you're replacing got because like it's the amount of work that it has to take to like get yourself together and prepare for such a big show like Coachella. It's like you're doing somebody a favor. So I think that he deserves whatever he wants. And I like that The Weeknd always stands up for himself with things like this. Rebecca, what do you think?
It's actually crazy. I knew that there's been a lot of talk about Kanye leaving, like him being kicked out of Coachella actually, which would have been a lot better for them. But yeah, as someone who's going, like I was really annoyed, not because he won't be there, because the tickets, the day that he announced, because all the Kanye stands sold their tickets, were like $200. And I was so annoyed because I certainly spent more than that. So yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, The Weeknd's a great replacement, and I think he does deserve the pay just because also Swedish House Mafia was already going to be there. So they're already getting paid. So they have this, what is it, $8.5 million, like that Kanye, which is insane, that Kanye was getting. And they have the money. Should give it to The Weeknd. I mean, a last minute performance, sets, like I know obviously you have like your dancers and your singers and your band and all that, but this is so last minute for such a huge stage and platform. It's like, and this is a very talked about event as they haven't had it in like 2 years now. So crazy. I mean, I'm super excited to hear The Weeknd and Swedish House Mafia is bringing me back to like my high school, trying to like get into like one of these, like, what is it? Like the Roseland Ballroom, where I would go see
Yeah.
Swedish House Mafia being like 15 years old. So
Oh my
I'm excited.
gosh. Yeah,
Morgan, what do
you're
you
gonna be
think?
there. You gotta
Yes, I'm
tell
going to
us
be
how it
there.
is.
Yes, I'll
Which
be there
weekend?
weekend two, and just so perfectly, the Hollywood Dish schedule aligns. It's a sign, aligns with the SNL schedule. So the Hollywood Dish schedule aligns
Mhm.
perfectly with my week at Coachella and then my week after in LA. So yeah, I'm super excited. I will give all the drama that I get from Coachella
Oh, please
on
do.
whenever we're back. But yeah, Morgan,
Yes.
what do you think?
I mean, I think The Weeknd is like a great choice to replace Yee. I
Right.
saw The Weeknd like 4 years ago at Lollapalooza, and like he gave an amazing concert, and it was so fun, and everyone just loves his music and knows all the lyrics and everything. And maybe he'll even bring out like some guest performers with him that are like featured in his songs and things like that to make it more exciting. But honestly, it's just a great accomplishment for The Weeknd that he's going to be at Coachella. So like, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited. And it's just like it's crazy how this has unfolded. I remember a few years ago when Beyonce was doing Coachella, she prepared for months. Months and months
Hmm.
and months, and it was a huge undertaking. And so it's impressive that The Weeknd can do this, and also I think that these artists have a lot of pride in their work and in themselves, and so to be able to take that and say, yeah, I'm gonna step into someone else's shoes. I think it's harder than it seems because I think people would be afraid to do that, especially because Kanye is kind of controversial these days. So it does come with risks. It kind of means that you're representing Kanye on some interesting level, and it means you have to prepare
Yeah.
yourself for the Kanye stands to complain. So
Well, I'm like kind of annoyed that I know they were like Coachella was toying with the idea of just like telling him he can't perform anymore and replacing him, but I'm annoyed that he left on his own account then because then he's not learning the lesson. Like I think if he like threatened to leave, Coachella would have like said no and like we're gonna replace you. But he just like up and left. And he was also supposed to have Travis Scott come out, which is really interesting. Don't know if like I don't know the details about this. I don't know like what you have to do in order to like bring up a guest like that, but I'm kind of shocked if Coachella would have allowed Travis Scott to perform with Kanye, maybe as a surprise rather than because he was going to be the headliner the year Coachella was canceled. So it was kind of assumed when they were redoing it prior to the Astro World stuff that, oh, okay, Travis Scott would be one of the headliners and Frank Ocean and I think Swedish House Mafia. So it's crazy that they would have brought him up. Like he was gonna bring him out. So and he like announced that and was like, oh sorry, you're lost. Travis Scott was gonna be there also. So just another interesting development. But I guess we'll never know, as Kanye
I guess
says.
we'll never know. All right. You want to introduce our next one?
Yes. So, in breaking news today, the Senate confirmed Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court, making her the first Black woman to be elevated to the pinnacle of the judicial branch in what her supporters hailed as a needed step towards bringing new diversity to the court. And I read that verbatim because I think there was like such
Powerful.
strong importance in that specific sentence there, but it's awesome. I know. So it's been kind of back and forth for 2 weeks now, and The vote was 53 to 47. It was initially split 50-50, being all the Democrats voting for Ketanji, and then the 3 Republicans ended up changing their initial decision and voting for her. So it was 53-47. And this is just so exciting. I mean, there are a lot of testimonies of Black women online saying that there's a face that looks like theirs that will be represented in the Supreme Court for the first time ever. And I'm just so happy about this. And I know there was a lot of toying around, but yeah, Nicole, what do you think?
I'm so happy above all else that Ketanji Brown Jackson can just breathe now and be done with this part of the process, because what all of these guys and girls and everybody what everyone was putting her through was just so disgusting and disturbing to me. And nobody deserved to be treated like that, and certainly not one of the most powerful legal minds of all time of their world today. And so I think now that she has the title that she deserves, she can just breathe into her power and relax and just take a breather, because I even watching all these hearings over the last few weeks, it was painful. It was how can you treat people like this? And so
Yeah.
I'm so happy for her, and I'm so happy that we have more representation on the court, and I'm just excited to keep on seeing what she does. And also, she seems like a cool person to be
Yeah.
a public figure in politics in America. We don't have a lot of people who have fun facts, like how she did improv in college. It's fun to have people in politics who seem like fun people too, and have done things
And who
that
are
we're
brilliant
into.
at the same time.
Right,
Yeah.
right. To be smart and also interesting, and it's
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's exciting. Morgan, what about you?
Yeah, I echo everything you guys are saying. I mean, the first Black woman, she was making history already, and I'm just so excited to see how it's going to go from here now after all of that. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I actually see this though for SNL this weekend to be a cold open potentially. I mean, I feel like why wouldn't they have the hearings now that they're completed? I don't know though. I'm curious if you guys could see this happening. I feel like they'll definitely talk about it on an update. But I feel like this could be cold open material.
I could see that.
Yeah, I think it would be a good way to officially usher out the slap drama, to have a cold open that is about something else really specific going
Political.
on.
Yeah.
And yeah, not that I really love heavy political stuff, but even the last cold open, it was Fox and Friends, but they still weaved in the slap, and it felt like it was leading up to I found myself watching it feeling okay, they're gonna address the slap, and that's what I was waiting for. And I think that this cold open will represent we are moving on from that, we're not talking about that anymore, and we're really grounded in this new story that has a lot of implications for the future for all of us. So I think it's a really good cold open material for
Yeah.
sure. I'm curious. It's always interesting with political impressions, especially someone who is going to be on the Supreme Court. Clearly, when you debut a Supreme Court justice impression, that's something that is going to be around
Yeah.
as long as any of these cast members are going to be on the show. So I think Ego would be awesome. I would love to see that. We haven't had new debuts aside from, of course, James Austin Johnson. It feels like we haven't really debuted new politicians in a long time. We've had new cast members playing politicians, but we haven't had a ton of new politicians become part of the fold in SNL and in the impressionist kind
Yeah.
of world. So I'd
I
love
would
to see
love to
that.
see Punky. I would love to see a Punky political impression. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be good for her, because I think we're all rooting for her to have more screen time.
Yeah.
And Ego is such a utility player all over the place. So I think it would be a really good opportunity for Punky as well. I would love for her to have something
Yeah.
like that.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, also though, okay, so we're not gonna talk about the slap anymore, but there is an update in the story, which is that Will Smith resigned from the Academy. So I do think showing how much slap content there was last episode, I do think they'll bring it up again, because why wouldn't they? But there is like that is the biggest update to the story is that he did resign from the Academy, which, I mean, in my opinion, I thought he had to. Like that was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Wait, so what does this mean now, like for him? Like, what does that mean to actually like resign? Like, he
It
can't attend
means
any more
it means he
awards.
can't. I think the main thing is that he can't vote anymore. I think that as for whether he can attend it, I think those things are a little bit more up in the air. But it does feel like a general like you are kind of banished, but it doesn't take away his award. So he is an Oscar winner, but I don't think we will see him presenting Best Actress next year as per tradition, which we didn't see the tradition of Best Actress from last year present him his award. Frances McDormand wasn't there, and I just would have loved to see Frances McDormand up there because I think she would have been so funny in this context. Like after the slap happened, having to present Will Smith an award, she would have done something funny. So I am mourning the lack of Frances McDormand content at the Oscars still.
So apparently we're not the only people that's curious what the Academy means because it was an autofill very quickly. But Nicole, you're right. It means you cannot vote anymore. You could keep your Oscars. You could be nominated. You could potentially score an invitation to future Oscars, but the main thing is that you can't vote for the Oscars. So you can't partake in any of that. You can't attend any of the screenings, but you can potentially be invited. So I don't.
Right.
So I don't think
Yeah,
he will ever be
that's gonna.
invited, but
It would be a
Yeah.
+1 if anything.
Right.
I don't
Which
think
was
I
kind of
don't
a
think
funny
anyone wants him near
turnaround
the.
from Jada because one of the main original things that happened years ago was when Chris Rock basically called out Jada Pinkett Smith for not being invited to the Oscars, like that she wouldn't be invited. So imagine if suddenly Jada's up for an Oscar and she's like, "Am I gonna bring my +1?" Maybe that'd be a funny turn of events. I don't know. I think we're gonna see the slap a little bit, but we did release a little slap talk report yesterday on our social media and on Reddit and everything, and it turned out 24.79% of last week's episode was slap content. It was a little over 14 minutes of the episode, and and that's like it's specific. It's not. It's like Mike Murray, our stats guru, really timed it and everything. So I'm kind of good to move past it and just be really present and talk about whatever Jake Gyllenhaal's up to. I would be curious to get into that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the show. But we're gonna also talk about the Kardashians. We always talk about the Kardashians here, even if we don't intend to. They always come up, and they actually are promoting their new Hulu show, which is coming out a week from today. And their press tour for this has just been amazing. And it's to think that the show is a week away, and it feels every day the last few days have felt like the premiere to me. Every time I see something on Instagram or social media, anything, I'm like, oh, this is like the premiere event, and it just goes over and over and over. So they're promoting the new show. They were on Kimmel last night. Kim Kardashian shared a story about how she confirmed that the Jasmine and Aladdin sketch with Pete was their first kiss. She also shared that for Valentine's Day, he got her the rug, the outfit, and the little genie thing, the jar, bottle, for Valentine, whatever. Genie, I'm thinking genie in a bottle. Christina Aguilera, where are you? Help me. So he got her all that stuff from SNL for her Valentine's Day, which is very cute. So they are going strong. I think they're going to make their red carpet debut for the finale, the premiere of the Kardashian show, which again is any day now because it's been every day lately. So I'm excited for that. And then another development that we'll talk about a little more in detail is Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker, who have been engaged. It turns out they were kind of married, kind of not. They did like a classic Elvis Chapel moment, and they got the pictures and things, and then it turns out it wasn't a real ceremony. It's not in the books or anything, but it was like a practice run, like a Pam and Tommy moment that they wanted to have. So that was cute. It was very them, but I'm also very glad to hear that it was not their real wedding, because I think that that would have been kind of like them, but also I don't think that would have been really what they wanted to do in the long run. They both have so many kids, and I think that's important to them. So a lot of Kardashian stuff. Morgan, what's your Kardashian update. Like what here I guess the way we talk about Kardashians on this show is what Kardashian content is consuming, and all with a K. What Kardashian content is consuming you this week? Of anything I said, anything else you're seeing, what are you thinking about?
Definitely all the press about the show. I have watched the Kardashian show on E for like years and years. And honestly, it's such a fun show to like go back and watch like the early 2000s episodes of it. So yeah, I've been following them for so long, and I honestly am like happy that they're making this switch to Hulu, because I think they were kind of explaining it's going to be like more, it's less like reality and more like documentary in a way, which is like good because that really is like showing like their real sides. And they're focusing, I think, like equally on like each of the daughters. I feel like the old season, I mean, it showcased like everyone, but it was like so much attention always on like Kim, obviously, Khloe. So I know Kourtney kind of like stepped back a little bit in the past from filming, but it seems like she's very much on it. If you watch the Hulu trailers, and Travis is in it a lot. So I'm honestly just so excited. And I think it comes out on the 14th, April 14th, I think I saw. So
Mm-hmm.
soon. But yeah, I love seeing all their press interviews. Like every interview I see, I like learn new information about Pete, about Travis, about their kids, about Kanye, like literally everything. So I'm really excited. And also with like Kendall and Kylie, they have so much going on in their lives also. Um, so yeah, I mean, I love those kinds of shows. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's always so much Kardashian content, but especially this week, it's been crazy. I mean, I am so happy for Pete and Kim. Like, I think it was like the latest drop of like a little tease was Kim talking more about Pete, and Chris actually being interviewed about Kim and Pete. And I think that's awesome. I'm just like upset about the break from Keeping Up with the Kardashians on E till now, because Kourtney became interesting this past like
Yeah.
year. For the first time ever, literally became interesting, and we didn't get to watch her like gradual like increase to like being like someone people really are so invested in and care about that much. Not to be harsh, but like I super did not care about her, like, or what she was up to. And she's like funny now. Like this is the Instagram caption that she posted about it was after the Grammys, and Travis and Kourtney were in Vegas, and there were a lot of rumors that morning, like the next morning, everyone being like, "Oh my God, they're married," and she really didn't let that last that long, which I'm surprised about, because I feel like they don't usually intervene. But the Instagram caption, she posted pictures from their wedding, like their practice ceremony, and wrote, "Once upon a time, a land far away." Far, far away, parentheses, Las Vegas, at 2 a.m., after an epic night and a little tequila, a queen and her handsome king ventured out to the only chapel with an Elvis and got married with no license. Practice makes perfect, which
Town,
it's funny.
USA.
No, I love that. That is so funny. That is my favorite way to like address rumors, and she never feeds into stuff like that, and she fully fed into it.
Oh my gosh, it's just so like it's the contrast of her being her whole like rock and roll whatever, like we don't care, we're too cool, and then her being like, "Oh, it's my fairy tale moment." It's like
But
it's cool,
also
and it feels
her like
authentic because it doesn't feel
her
calculated.
her health and like wellness side too, like coming from like Poosh. Like there's
Mhm.
just so many different sides of Courtney, and I'm just excited to like see it all unfold for sure.
Yeah.
Like you guys said, like yeah, like, and I wonder if Scott's gonna make any appearances. That's always interesting. I wonder if
Oh yeah.
Kanye's gonna make any appearances. Um, yeah, we'll have to see.
And Pete.
I don't know. I
Please.
think I love Courtney now. Like I'm excited to watch. Like obviously I was gonna be watching the show either way, but like she has made such a transformation, different than everyone else. Like yes, Kim and Pete is something new, and yes, it's different, but I don't know. I Kim has always been a little more like adventurous and fun, and although Pete Davidson is Pete Davidson, like it's not as shocking as like Courtney and Travis. It's so shocking.
Yeah, it is so it's literally they were neighbors and best friends forever. It's kind of so perfect that it feels so it feels so anti-Kardashian in a lot of ways. It feels so like like fairy tale, but also like boy next door, girl next door, meet and whatever. And then it's just, I don't know. I'm so like fascinated with Kourtney's whole trajectory. Although I will say I'm much more of a Goop apologist, a Goop loyalist compared to Poosh. So Goop is Gwyneth Paltrow's wellness company, and Poosh is Kourtney's. And as you can tell by the titles, they are very similar, and Goop came first. So I'm a little and I love that stuff. I love wellness and all that like bougie stuff. And I think Poosh really ripped off Goop. I really do. And another thing with their promotion of their new show and everything, there was this event yesterday at Nobu Malibu, and every sister and Chris, they all had a different room. So Chloe had a gym with Good American jeans. Good American is her clothing brand, her jean line. Kylie had like a skincare room. Kim had a Skims room. Who am I missing? Kendall had a bar with her 818 tequila. Kourtney had like a kitchen, a wellness center, whatever. And Chris had an office. And I saw this.
Chris had an office.
Office. Yeah,
Kendall had tequila. They all had like free stuff, and Chris had an office.
An office.
Honestly, whoever thought of that, amazing. Honestly,
incredible.
It's smart.
There was also an event recently where there was a cocktail called Your Cute Jeans. And for reference, that's an old Kardashian quote from the show where it was between Kendall and Chris, and Chris said something about like her cute jeans, like Kendall's cute jeans, and Kendall goes, "Your cute jeans," and I think it was Chris who was like what?
What?
And she was like your cute jeans, like cute, cheeky, whatever. And so to just the way that they can blend all their brands together to do a cocktail with Kendall's tequila line and cute jeans as a reference to Chloe's jean line, Good American, and blending those together. All of these brands, I think that's the next step, the next kind of frontier that they're really working on, is having all the sisters have their individual brands and now blending them, whether it's a cocktail that combines like Kendall and Chloe's brands. Like I think we're going to see more of that fusion in 2022.
Have either of you had 818?
I have not.
Yes.
It's so weird.
I think I mean, I'm not the biggest tequila girl, not going to lie, but it was pretty smooth.
See, I'm a
tequila girl.
Ride
I don't.
die.
That's the only alcohol I drink.
Girl.
Same.
I don't drink vodka, but tequila. So I tried 818, and yes, it's smooth. It went right down. Like here's the scene. I woke up from day drinking, and my friend had a bottle, and I really wanted to try it. And I just picked it up, took a sip, and it was like juice because it tastes like vanilla. It tastes like vanilla. It tastes like vanilla flavored tequila, and it's so interesting. It's not bad. It's just interesting. I don't know, Nicole. I want you to try it now.
I need to try it. I think I need to move my dog because she's crying. But I'm only tequila. Like when I'm drinking, 95% of the time it's tequila, and I haven't tried 818. I'm a big Casamigos girl. That's like my go-to always. But I don't like when tequila is that flavorful, because I like it to be a little bit more like basic, and then I can add what I want to it.
Yeah.
So I feel like and also I feel like Kendall's. It just feels like the least like alignment with her, like Chloe's branding, like with jeans and with curves, and with like Kendall's feels a little bit more random, of like, oh, Kendall likes to party and socialize, so alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, Chloe likes to wear jeans. Like it's the same argument.
It's about like an inclusive. Good American is all about like being inclusive and having shapes that are more just. It's not just a typical style of jeans, and it's more designed like if you have like you're more curvy or you have a bigger butt or whatever, like, and that feels like her kind of thing with the Revenge Body show, that in retrospect I think they would have had a different name because it's kind of cringy, but
it's so bad.
It all kind of, I feel like the jeans go with the workout. It's like body and like curves and confidence, and that it fits for me. It fits more than Kendall's brand fits for Kendall.
We don't know Kendall as much. I hope we see her more on the show, because I think there's this other side to Kendall that's like so fun. I mean, if you ever watch like her and like Kylie's Drunk Get Ready With Me, like, they're both fun, but we see that Kylie's fun because we watched her like be like a rebellious teenager kind of thing, and then you saw her like grow out of that. And Kendall, it's more just more bland, I think, but I don't think she is that way. And like I think probably her making a tequila aligns with that, but we wouldn't know.
That's
So.
true. She's
I
such a
feel like
Scorpio.
Kendall, like I feel like she like would have a tequila because like what she can do with it. You know what I mean? Like she loves like being on top of trend and being like in front of everything, I feel like, and like their branding and like all their events and like everything is just like screams Kendall, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
I wonder if they're
Yeah.
gonna create like other products in the future. I feel like they
Yeah.
totally will. Like maybe like little cans or like mixed drinks, things like that.
Yeah.
But and her
Yeah.
merch,
Nicole.
like
Yeah.
so much merch, things like
The
that.
merch is so cute. Nicole, do you have to move your dog?
Yeah, I have one more
Okay,
thing to
go
say,
to
and then
the dog.
I'll move my
Okay.
dog when you introduce the next story. My last thing for
Okay.
Kendall,
That's what I was gonna do.
she is so aloof that I think she's less vulnerable and open than the other sisters, and I think when that's the case, it's harder to find a brand alignment. You know, like Chloe
Mm-hmm.
has been so vulnerable, love her or hate her, like she's really put it all out there, so it makes sense. It's something she's passionate about,
Yeah.
etc. So Kendall, like, I think either she needs to be more open and vulnerable and tell us who she is, or she needs to like focus more on modeling than on building up a business that is supposed to be all about like a personal brand of, you know, like I feel like she's really good at
Mm-hmm.
modeling, and she needs to like, I don't know, she needs to be who she is. I think she sometimes likes to be more mysterious.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move my dog and introduce
Okay.
the next story. Okay.
Well, speaking of billionaires, Elon Musk, he became the majority shareholder of Twitter. So he has 9.2% stake in Twitter. So to dumb it down, which I needed myself, it's the way that you could do this is like since Twitter's public, he just went out and bought like a shit ton of shares of Twitter, became the majority shareholder, and then Twitter made him a board member of Twitter also. So I think it's gonna be some interesting changes because we know he's like so high up in the innovation and he's a very avid Twitter user. And there's a lot of stuff happening with Twitter now, like them creating an edit button, which has been very controversial because a lot of people are like, no, Twitter's where you say something, like you shouldn't be able to edit your thoughts or have these celebrities edit their like extremely messed up tweets from like years ago and all that just like to make it better and like clear their name and all things like that. But I'm so just curious about this. Imagine being rich enough to just like buy the most stock of like your favorite company and then just become majority shareholder of it. Like this is insane.
Just be like, poof, like this is now whatever I want goes. Yeah, it's so interesting. The edit button, and they posted it on April Fools. Twitter was like, we're working on an edit button, and everyone was like, okay, this feels like something they must be talking about, but it's also April Fool's Day, so what's going on? And I think that the edit, it's not possible for Twitter, because another thing is like the whole quote tweet nature of Twitter. How can a tweet be edited? It would have to be such a complicated technology that, Rebecca, maybe you could explain how it's possible, because you're the tech person. I couldn't even imagine, but it just feels like a huge part of Twitter is that the culture around quote tweeting. And so if you can edit, then one person's quote tweeting of that tweet has an entirely different meaning from someone else doing it.
Yeah, well, when you quote a tweet, you don't like reproduce it on your own side. So it's not like if you quote a tweet, it's not like you actually like you kind of transcribing the tweet again. It actually quotes like it takes the actual first one. That's how you're able to like click and see the original tweet. So the edit will work fine, but I'm just so curious what Elon Musk is going to do with Twitter. Morgan, are you big on Twitter? What do you think?
Well, I'm a social media manager, so like I spend a lot of time on my brand's Twitter account. So I definitely like have dipped my toes in it. It's like a whole different animal than like any other platform. But I just think that this is all like interesting timing because like Trump just created a social media app or something, and now Elon Musk is like taking over Twitter. It's just like interesting timing. But like, I just need to say, one of my favorite SNL episodes was when Elon Musk hosted and Miley was the musical guest.
Interesting,
I thought that was
Morgan.
such a good episode, honestly.
Okay, brave take. I don't disagree, but it is a brave statement to make. Um, I thought Miley brought a lot to the table, and Elon was better than I
Yes.
would have anticipated.
I just
The
like
decision to bring him on was interesting.
yeah, I like
Yeah.
when SNL like steps out of the box like that and like brings on like Elon Musk. Like it's insane. It's not like a typical host. Um,
Yeah. Well, an interesting point you brought up, though, also about Elon Musk is like he is unpredictable. And that's why it was so risky to kind of have him host SNL. Like, yes, he's not like Kanye where he's just going to go say stuff, but he's very controversial. I mean, we saw a lot of his social media before the show, and that's why SNL was getting a lot of hate and like just negativity about him hosting. But yeah, Donald Trump has his own platform now, but I'm like, I know a lot of people and myself are curious, like if Musk will push for Twitter to re-platform Donald Trump, like re-allow him to join Twitter. Because I mean, we don't know with him, which is why it's crazy. I mean, being majority shareholder is one thing, but then Twitter putting him on the board is like pretty wild. So
It's crazy, yeah.
but Twitter, I would say, is people love it that have been on it for years, but it's not as popular. So I'm curious with this new push. And like, I mean, Nicole, your hacker would probably know a lot about this,
Yeah, I would reach out, but
a lot of the crypto, I'm curious if like there's going to be any like integration of crypto on the Twitter. I know Twitter always tries to rebrand stuff, and I think you could do certain things like it. Maybe really famous people will start to be able to pay like to promote stuff, and I don't know, and if it's
well,
going to be through
that we do
crypto.
see that. Like the Kardashians promo video, every time I check Twitter, it's on my feed because it's promoted.
Yes,
So
but
that
that's a
kind of thing is
company.
happening.
But like
Right.
Brittany Broski, like a really popular
Right.
internet persona who was not a celebrity and was very big on the internet. I'm curious
Yeah.
then, like as a popular creator, like if they will have the power rather than like a corporation. I don't know.
Interesting.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm like Sandrine in the chat, who always comes with the best takes, said
Always.
Sandrine said that it would be better if Tom from MySpace ran Twitter, and that Tom from MySpace, man, like what an icon and a great Pete
Really?
Davidson character. So that would be actually, I think he might have played Tom from MySpace in the Kim Kardashian episode this season. I was in the audience, but I think that's what happened. I'm not. I'll fact check like in a few minutes.
I'll fact
but
check.
yeah, you fact check me. Thank you. But yeah, also with the quote tweet thing I was talking about, my point even like was that the fact that the tweet changes because it's like linked to the actual tweet, that means that when someone quote tweets, they think they're quote tweeting something, but then if the person goes and edits them, then that person looks like they don't know what they're talking about, or it looks like they're saying something that they don't mean. So I just think with the quote tweet culture around Twitter, like I wouldn't want to quote tweet someone knowing that they could go edit that post later, because then I could go look at myself and I'm like, what in the world did I just quote tweet? Okay, fact checker, what's the deal?
So yes, you were right. Pete Davidson
right.
played
Okay,
Tom
so.
from MySpace on the Kim Kardashian episode.
Yeah. So that'd be a good full circle. And you know what else? I think but the cherry on top of this Kardashian press tour for their promotion for their Hulu show, I think Kim should make a capital K cameo on SNL this weekend. I'd love Taylor Swift to do it, but I don't think Taylor Swift is going to do it. I think that Kim, it would be the perfect timing because now she and Pete have openly, explicitly explained their relationship after being kind of mysterious for a few months. So it would be the perfect time for her to promote her new show, for her to make some huge noise, just like a little pop in and out. I would love to see that. I really think it's the perfect time.
If Pete is there this week.
Right.
Wait,
well, he wouldn't be, but if she were there, then maybe he would be there.
We saw him last week in the pre-tape. I feel like that was like our first time seeing him in like a while.
He wasn't there for the whole, like the last run of 3 episodes, and so we saw him for the first time in like well over a month, and he wasn't even there that night.
Yeah, and that was a tease because it was a pre-tape and then he wasn't in the rest, and it was early on in the episode, so
That's another piece of
when
news.
he's going to be back. Like when do we think he's going to be back? I mean, he
I don't
needs
know.
to
I'll text him.
Yeah.
The season's going to end soon. I want him to come back. I don't know.
I don't think he's ever going to fully be back again. I think that he has so many things going on, and he would have left SNL a long time ago if he weren't able to have this flexibility that he has. So I don't think we're ever gonna see Pete Davidson in full swing at SNL ever again. However long he stays, whether it's another month, whether it's another year, I think we are done with like Pete Davidson being like in the building a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if this were if this were his last season. And if it's not, I think we're going to get this kind of hybrid, mysterious model with Pete for the rest of his tenure for sure. And then he has the NBC show with Lorne Michaels that he's working on. So he's not going anywhere from NBC. So it's like think of like Curb Your Enthusiasm type show. So he's going to be working with Lorne Michaels on a semi-fictionalized version of his life sitcom type show. And,
yeah, more like Kenan. I think that's scripted. It's not going to be like a Curb, like improv
heavy. Yeah, that's true. It'll be somewhere.
Unless I don't think it is.
I would guess you're right. Yeah, but it's somewhere between Kenan show, Dave, Lil Dicky show, and Curb Your Enthusiasm.
It'll be like Dave. It'll be like Dave.
Yeah, I think that's the best comparison. I think it'll be like Dave. But another piece of news is that Netflix. So that we talked about this on the Patreon show, but that short ass movies, the pre-tape that Pete did, Netflix made a category of short ass movies this week. So they literally on their website, on their app, everything, if you want to go look up short ass movies because you don't want to watch King of Staten Island, Pete's movie, which is 2 hours and 17 minutes, which is funny that they made fun of that. They had to make fun of that. So I'm glad they did. But if you want short ass movies, Netflix, Pete's influence is so powerful. Netflix
is it called short ass? It's like it says the word
literally ass? Short ass movies.
I'm dead. That's so funny. I did not know that.
So good. That's a great example of SNL having this influence that like we don't really see other than when it's around Pete Davidson. So it's Pete and the show really are very mutually beneficial. Even if Pete's not all in, I think that if he has like, he's dipping he has like 10% of himself in the show, that's great for the show, and I think it's great for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if he like completely leaves, like, I think that will be so interesting, like, for the viewers of SNL, because I feel like so many of like that Gen Z viewership like comes from people wanting to see Pete. So like,
yeah, I don't think there's a reason to. I don't think there's a reason he should leave, because the way he's going right now, he's getting paid. He's able to come on when he wants, and he's able to not. And my Netflix must hate me because I do not have a category called short ass movies. So
maybe
I was gonna pull it up for the video, but my Netflix doesn't like me. Anyway,
I've heard quite a few people say that, so maybe it was like a little gimmick that it worked for a few seconds, because last time I tried it didn't work for me either. So let us know in the chat if you're able to access your short ass movies category on Netflix. I was not able to when I tried, so I don't know. Maybe they just pranked us, but it seemed pretty legit when they announced it.
Also, I just love how Elon Musk ends up just like it leads right to Pete, which like kind of makes sense, like in the weirdest way. Like it really tracks. And speaking of Pete, I believe our first rapid fire. I mean, if we're all
let's just go right through.
Elon Musk, let's go right through, Nicole.
Yeah, let's do it. So the thing I wanted to talk about was that it's official that Pete Davidson has met the children, has met Kim's kids, specifically North, which was the one that we all were the most curious to see him meet, because Northwest has the biggest personality of any kid I've ever seen, which is only kind of enhanced by @Nori's Black Book on Instagram. Everyone, it's a must follow. She is so funny. She just turns like Northwest. She takes like Northwest perspective on the Kardashian empire and like writes it. So if the picture happens and like something goes viral, it's like from North's perspective, what happened and what's the context. So I love Northwest. And so there was this picture of Pete and her like driving around in this little like play golf cart thing with her in his lap. And so it seemed just very like chill. And it's like, yeah, this like Pete has met the kids. We know that Kim met Pete's grandparents, and things are just getting serious with those two.
Yeah, I like forget that Northwest is old. Like not is young, man. In my mind, I imagine her as like an 18-year-old, like independent. But I know that Kim introduced North, and oh my god, I'm blanking out. Who's the next in line? The son.
So it's North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm.
Yes, Saint and North met Pete, and Kim came out with a statement saying that like the younger two know what's going on, but like when the time is right, they'll meet Pete. But this is
Right.
huge. Like, we always say the Kardashians are family people, like, through and through. And Kanye is too. And I think Kim introducing the kids was a really big risk because of Kanye's feedback. And, like, it could have really prompted. So the fact that Kim felt like the risk of Kanye's wrath afterwards, and, like, it's a pretty big deal, like, means this thing with Pete is serious.
Yeah, for
Who
sure.
thinks they're gonna get married?
I
Anyone?
feel like, don't you feel like she like already introduced them, or like maybe like to some of the kids? I don't know. I don't think this is the first
No,
time.
that's
he's
no.
doing
I
them.
kind of agree. I
Oh, that
kind of
this wasn't the
agree.
first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's-
she's
there's no
publicly
way.
talking about it because of Kanye.
He's definitely met them before, or like they've crossed.
I think
paths
that's fair.
because,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
they-
it's all
like you guys
pretty.
said.
You're right. I think it's like all these like milestones. I'm gonna take everything with a grain of salt because it's like too like big of a thing where like who can keep track they like the lives that they live. It's like if your stories don't quite add up, like I'm not gonna complain about it. I'm good with
Yeah.
whatever they're doing, and I will say they're growing on me. Like I really was a critic of the whole Kim and Pete thing for a while there, but it's growing on me. It's like however it started, if it's something that is really healthy and happy for both of them now, then like why would I have
Yeah.
a bad opinion? So I will say they are growing on me a lot as a couple.
I agree, and I love that they're both like mama's girls and boys. Like, I love that. Like,
Yeah.
that, like, it wasn't even like, oh, meet the parents, it's meet the kids, because we know Chris has met him, we know Pete's mom has met Kim. Like, it's so
Yeah.
like it wouldn't be an event. It's such a non-brainer, and I love that. Like, that's so
Totally.
great.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
so
like
true.
their relationship, like with Travis and Kourtney, also. It's
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just like works out pretty well.
It's so
all
perfect.
of them,
Yeah.
so.
We haven't heard much about Megan and MGK lately. I feel like they
I
kind
was
of
just
fell
thinking that.
off. They're not as in
I
it.
feel like he was like touring or like doing concerts like
Yes.
in
Yeah,
Europe.
he
or
is.
something.
He's touring now because he's coming
He's with
here
them.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because I was
Yeah.
going to say, if it doesn't work out with them, I mean, Chloe and MGK would be a really good pair, and they would form like a little squad, everyone. But I actually do like Megyn Kelly and MGK, so I'm not rooting for them to break up. I think they've kind of like found each other and like let them do all their weird stuff that they like. I don't
Yeah.
know. They were really strong on the internet. I'm not upset that we're not talking about them, because I know we spoke
Same.
about them a lot in the beginning of
We
Hollywood Dish.
really
and-
did. They always
But
weaseled
maybe
their
they're
way
just
in.
happy now. Maybe they're happy and just like living their lives. And
You make a
respect.
good point. Okay, Rebecca, tell us whatever is going
Okay.
on with Bravo.
So my rapid fire is, there is a backstory, so it's not as rapid as I would have hoped, but just to fill everyone in, Erica Jane is on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She's been on the cast for a bunch of years now, and she is 50 years old, and she's married to Tom Girardi, 82, and he was sued in December of 2020 in a class action lawsuit because basically he represented the victims of a Boeing plane crash, and that's his type of law, is that he always, I don't know the terminology, but he represented those people, and then basically doesn't charge them until they get their settlement from the plane crash there. But what he did in turn is then also embezzled the settlement funds for the victims of the Lion Air Flight 610. And it's been this crazy ongoing thing. So this was December 2020, and it's now April 2022, and it's still ongoing. And he is, well, now divorced or separated from Erica Jane. It was actually, the settlement came out really soon after they decided to divorce. So I think it's really connected, and a lot of people did too. And I know it's been really talked about on Bravo and on The Real Housewives. All of this like legal stuff has been really just deep dive. I know she kind of got like grilled by Andy Cohen in the reunion, and it was kind of like she was not guilty. Everyone kind of settled with that idea, but it came out like this week that there's a new lawsuit claiming that Erica Jane's role made her the front woman in Tom Girardi's fraud and embezzlement scandal. So it's crazy now that everyone's kind of let her off the hook a little and been like, okay, fine. Like, she had really solid answers to her trial on the reunion of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people were kind of like, okay, no, she's good. But these new charges came out against her. So I am so interested. I know you don't watch Nicole and Morgan. You kind of watch some Bravo, but I'm curious your
I
thoughts,
watch a
if
little bit.
any.
I'm always like, I watch a lot of Watch What Happens Live, which is a good. I feel like it's supposed to be the after show, like the complement to Bravo, but I kind of watch it as my to get like the context for things. So I do like that's my primer, and then I don't actually go and have the main course of the actual show. So I've been enjoying the discourse around this for a while. It's just crazy what the Real Housewives as a franchise have turned into, has turned into, because I know with New York, they're like that franchise is a mess, and they're maybe having two new shows now instead of one because like people couldn't get along and nobody wants to work together. So it's like I'm just fascinated in general with the Real Housewives and how like all of the most successful franchises, it's kind of a prerequisite that each successful franchise has a housewife who is having legal trouble. Like you cannot
Yeah,
have
there have
a
been
right
three. It's
three huge
New
ones, and those are
Jersey,
like the three biggest
Teresa Giudice,
franchises.
Giudice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
one of the above. She
yeah,
changes it. She doesn't know either way. And
yeah,
then Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Erica Jane, and then
right,
Jen Shaw, which I know we've reported on a while ago for Salt
yeah.
Lake City. But that's such a good point. Like toying with the law is part of the gig.
Mm-hmm. What
Yeah,
about you,
crazy.
Morgan?
I mean, I get them all like confused because, like Nicole, like you said, there's literally so many now, like different Real Housewife franchises in different states and stuff. But yeah, I recently was watching the new one, like with Salt Lake City, Utah,
We
with
have
Jen
to talk
Shaw.
about it. It's so good. That is definitely Nicole or anyone
Mm-hmm.
listening. If you're gonna watch any housewife, you could do Salt Lake City because there are only two
Yeah,
seasons.
Yeah,
The
I have
first is on
to.
Hulu, and the second will be coming on Hulu. But it is definitely
love
the
it.
juiciest one. Oh,
I
because
have to.
The Jenny one stuff also was
Oh
that we
yeah,
discussed
another one.
on the dish with Salt Lake City too. You should watch it. But that's so yeah, that's my rapid fire. I was just itching to talk about it. I don't personally think they will discuss this on SNL, but it would be really funny if they
It would
did.
be really cool. I'm always, it's like reality TV, whenever reality TV gets relevant enough to be talked about in like mainstream, something like an SNL, it's always very exciting to see. Like when Tyler
I
Cameron
want them to
cameoed
do
with Kim,
yes,
like it with all those mainstream actors and wrestlers and stuff, it's like
yes.
when that crossover happens, it's exciting.
They should do more housewife content, even if it's like kind of like the way that they make fun of The Bachelor. Like there's so much
Yeah.
content that they could make jokes from that have actually happened on The Housewives that like you don't have to follow for them to make a sketch where like they incorporate it. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping for.
And we know there are a lot of voices at the show that love the Housewives. Like Bowen loves the
Yes.
Housewives and knows a lot.
Wait,
Sarah Sherman
80
does too. 80 does.
80's been
80,
on same with Chloe Fineman. They're both been
Chloe
on
Fineman,
Watch What Happens
a lot
Live.
of
Wait,
Housewives fans up in this cast. So they should all be like, let's do something about it. Let's make some. I would love that.
have you seen Chloe Fineman's like impression of Meredith Marks on her
Yes.
Instagram? It's so funny.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
it
they would
is.
do like such good impressions of everyone.
Yes.
So
I would be
funny.
fun. And like the interest is there. I just feel like they all have to put their heads together and be like,
Yes.
this is what we want to do. Let's
Yeah,
do
a
it.
lot of SNL casts have been on Watch What Happens Live. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just so for me, I think Housewives are like, especially Beverly Hills, is like a gateway drug into the Bravo universe, and like I am slowly but surely like once the Drag Race content stops, I need like dumb TV to. And I'm not saying Drag Race is stupid. I'm saying the Housewives are stupid though.
Yeah.
I need that going on in the background, and that it's like literally a gateway drug into the Bravo universe. So
Yeah.
beware, you might fall right into it like me, and I hope you
I
do.
dip my toes. It's weird for my addictive personality, the fact that I enjoy Bravo in this like lighthearted way. It's very unlike me. It's very weird that I can enjoy it in this soft way. But Morgan, you have your rapid fire. This is our last big story. Then we're going to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal. We're going to talk about the scarf. So bear with us if you need context on what all that means. We heard from a bunch of people that this is the place where they want to hear all the scoop. So we
So
promise we're going to tell you
I
at the end.
too do not know anything
Okay,
in
so I'm
regards to
at the
that
end of the
because
show. Stay tuned, everyone. I'll provide the
yeah,
context.
I
But we have
try
a big.
ignore Taylor Swift like annoying drama. So
Fair enough. I'll explain
I will
everything.
learn. I will learn.
Okay, so but we have one big story that I can't believe we haven't talked about it yet. So Morgan, tell us, explain,
Okay,
give us the
rapid
highlights.
fire. I think we should all go around quickly and say our Grammy highlights from this past weekend. I know it's like confusing with like that. I'm getting like literally the Oscars and the Grammys like
Yeah, I have
intertwined
mine.
in my mind.
I just
I
got
think one of
mine.
my favorite Grammy moments was when Doja Cat was
That was
winning,
mine.
and
Oh
she
my
like
god, that was mine.
I forgot what the award was. I don't know. It was
Best
like
pop duo / group
yeah,
performance.
and it was like her first one too. But like she was sprinting out of the bathroom like onto the stage, and then I think like her emotions were just so high, and then she started crying and getting emotional about it, and it made me like literally tear up because I was just like so happy for her. I love Doja Cat, but
Yeah. It was so
that
nice.
was
And
like
she chucked her
insane.
vape off. She was sprinting and like
Yeah,
threw her vape because she didn't want to put it on the stage. Meanwhile, of course, she drew more attention to it by like chucking it. I think it fell
Yeah.
into Lady Gaga's face and like hit her in the eyeballs, and it was just like so funny. And then SZA, it was they were accepting it together for
yeah.
"Kiss Me More," and SZA had what are the things called that made you really cool in middle
Crutches.
school? Crutches. You made you so cool in middle school to have crutches.
She had crutches and stilettos on.
I know, it was crazy. And like it was just so many memeable moments. Like Lil Nas X was like was pushing her around in the wheelchair and holding her crutches for her, and like Lady Gaga was holding up her dress. It was just all these icons of music really banding together and like having all these cute and fun moments. But it also really showed me how the music industry, because we didn't have like an earnest Grammys last year. We had like a kind of semi-ish
Kind of
show.
liked it last year.
It was clean and crisp, but it wasn't like it wasn't fun. It was surfacey. But this felt like the first one where people were really interacting with each other, and there was a lot of kind of action happening, and it reminded me that it's real like the music industry has kind of changed right before my eyes so quickly. Feels like it was like Nicki Minaj, Miley Cyrus, Rihanna, Beyonce, like those were like the names, and those people are all still like massive A-list amazing people.
To be fair, if they had albums out, they would have been there. Like,
Right, but that's my
it
point is
changes each
like now there are
ceremony, I
so
think.
many people who are like Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Lil Nas X, Jack Harlow, Doja Cat, SZA, like all these people I feel like have emerged in the last like 18 months to 2 years, and all of a sudden it's like the industry just looks different, and those legends are like whenever they pop up with a new album, they're gonna like be right there. But it just feels like the kind of the people who are like really in it and like putting out an album like every year, like it just feels like suddenly there was a switch, and it's like, oh, like it's this group of people now.
Yeah. What was your highlight?
Oh,
Was
my
that?
highlight my highlight was
Yeah.
Doja Cat. I also another one, John Batiste, who he came into the night with more nominations than anybody at 11. He was someone I didn't know a lot about heading into it. He is the band leader for Stephen Colbert, the Colbert Show. And he is just, I didn't know much about him, but I was like, okay, so this guy who has 11 nominations, like really, really gifted, does a lot of stuff in the music industry. And he ended up taking the big prize at the end, the album of the year. And it was kind of a shock because it wasn't the most commercially successful one. Like it wasn't Olivia Rodrigo's album or Billie Eilish's album or Doja Cat's or Lil Nas X or something that like everyone was talking about and listening to, but it was, I think, a really good album, and his performance, I'm so glad he performed because it was like a really nice introduction to him. He was so full of life and just so vibrant, and I feel like I learned so much about his music just through that performance. So that was another highlight for me, was like being introduced to an artist who I didn't really pay attention to before that night.
Yeah. The Grammys are so fun. I mean, there were just so many highlights, I thought, on the broadcast. I mean, we can to I'll start somber and then go positive after. I mean, but like the fact that Kanye and Louis CK
Oh
both
yeah,
won.
we should address this. This is very SNL. They yeah.
Okay, yes, Kanye winning, fine. Like more fine than Louis CK winning, who is like there has been so much to come out about him, and like the Grammys just without like, or the Academy of the Grammys, I don't know what it's called. Um I think it's really like messed up that he won, and like they could have changed it, and they could, there were a lot of other nominees, and he won
Lots.
2 Grammys, I think, about for his comedy album. And I don't know, really disappointed more with like the Grammys. I'm glad he wasn't there to actually be able to receive it, but
Mm-hmm.
Still, he shouldn't
it's
be
also
rewarded.
like it wasn't just that he like made a comeback and he pretended everything didn't happen. I don't know if that would have been better. It's a good question. Or what he did, which is he won a Grammy based on material that had to do with him talking about what happened. Him
Mm-hmm.
he's profiting and off of this, and he's getting awards
Yeah.
based on this messed up behavior. So it's like, so he's winning a Grammy for this behavior. Like
Yeah.
that was kind of the heart of this album that he did. It was talking about like the experiences that got him into trouble and cancel culture and everything. And it's just like there really were a lot of other options, and there's
Yeah.
so many comedians, so many of these albums that people record. It's like it did not have to be this way. It's like it's not even a separate art from the artist thing, because there are so many artists who we don't have to separate the art from. So why would we
Well,
like
but his
bend over
art
backwards for this
was
guy?
talking about, like, his art was the problem. So there's also that to think about. Like, yeah, you could separate the art from the artist, but his art was like pretty problematic, like talking about him being problematic. So he got rewarded for that.
Right,
I don't know.
exactly.
Instead of negative, my highlight was going to be Doja Cat, but it was Silk Sonic just the whole night. Like, their vibes, like, I want to hang out with them. They won their 2 awards. They like did their little like choreographed like dance before going
Yeah.
up. Their performance, like Anderson Paak's wig, like everything about them was just like so great. And I think that, like, yes, their album is very 70s-esque, and like I've seen Anderson Paak a few times because like I'm a big fan of him like solo, and I literally think like it was so funny, and they just like lit up the room and everyone was just looking at them and happy and like laughing. Although I think the awards that they like were pretty interesting, that they like won 2 big categories, but like go off because they were so entertaining. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
my
they had a
highlight.
sweep. They had also two
Yep.
awards that happened kind of during the big ceremony where they did their whole swoop thing, but also they won every award they were nominated for. I also saw this stat
Bruno
that
Mars.
Bruno Mars has not lost a Grammy since 2014. Every Grammy he's been nominated for since
All
2014,
14 he's
he has won,
received.
which is like he had nominations
Wow.
prior to that he didn't, but ever, so it's been now 8 years. Anytime he has been nominated, he wins. So the Grammys, I think they pick their favorites. I'm not saying that it's corrupt or that it's rigged or anything, but I think that they pick their
But you
favorites. And
are.
when you're a Grammys, I'm saying that when you're a Grammys favorite, you know that you're like they're gonna vote for you. So what's the word for that? It's not like they're not lying about the votes, but the votes are
No, they're
very
biased.
they're very
Biased.
biased because they just choose, or like when a certain genre happens, like when for certain genres, it's like every like one band or one artist will just like sweep each genre, and it just feels kind of lazy. Like it's always like that with the Grammys more than the Oscars or the Emmys or the Tonys. Like I feel like it's the most just kind of like that of all 4 of those major awards. So I'm kind of like, I mean, they're so talented. I love Silk Sonic. I think they should be musical guests on
Yeah.
SNL yesterday. I don't know why we haven't seen them yet. I think we certainly will. And yeah, but it's just interesting how, like, I need to say Nicki Minaj and Miley Cyrus have both never won a Grammy, and they're 2 of my favorites of all time, and they have both like changed the music industry fundamentally in so many ways. And the fact that they have both never won, I'm just like, it's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah,
It's insane.
it is.
But anyway, so we're gonna do Rebecca's favorite segment, and then we're gonna talk about what we're heading into going into this
Oh,
interesting
do
week.
you quickly, and I'll never say this again, but do you quickly want to talk about Taylor Swift?
Oh, sure, I'll do
Did
that
you guys
first.
want to? Yeah,
I
just
mean,
because that
I'll
could be
just
part
give
of.
okay, everyone. So this I think is the part some people have been waiting for. I was pleasantly surprised that some people reached out and they were like, you have to give us some context for this whole Gyllenhaal villain hall situation, and I gladly I will oblige. It's my pleasure. So okay, so here's what happened for anyone who doesn't know. So Taylor Swift was the musical guest for SNL on November 13th this past fall. 13 is her lucky number. She was born on the 13th. It's a whole thing. You can find all these Easter eggs with Taylor Swift content going years and years back. She weaves 13 into everything. And so Taylor Swift also had this album, Red, that was released a decade ago. It was an amazing album. Taylor Swift also is re-releasing her albums so that she owns them because of all these complicated rules that she is really shedding light on in the music industry when you're especially a young woman who or young person who like rises to fame the way that she did. Like you could sign yourself into these contracts and then a few years later you're like, wait, why am I not making a larger chunk of this money? So she's re-recording her albums so that she owns them. So she did Fearless, and every song, the album Fearless, and every song had parentheses Taylor's version. And then she did Red this past fall, and Red was just this cultural revelation, this phenomenon of a moment. So she just really pushed this album in terms of like making a conversation around it, and everyone was so, all of a sudden everyone was the biggest Swiftie in the world. I fully admit to being an opportunist Swiftie. Like, I'm very opportunistic about my Swiftiehood. I'm not the biggest Swiftie, but when everyone else around me is, I am. So that's kind of where I stand about it. I'm a fan of hers, but I am also like, when everyone isn't talking about her, I'm like, okay, you're not perfect. No one's perfect. But yeah, so okay, there was this song All Too Well that a decade ago, it was a huge hit song from this album Red, and she announced that she was doing a 10-minute version. So we all know what we're talking about here. Taylor Swift performed this 10-minute version of All Too Well on SNL in November, and she had a short film about it starring Sadie Sink, who hence this black turtleneck, because she wears this black turtleneck in the short film, and Dylan O'Brien, who have the same pretty much age gap as Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal do, the actors who starred in the film. And it's heavily implied that the antagonist man talked about in the All Too Well saga is Jake Gyllenhaal. It's been heavily implied that ever since the song came out. They dated casually a long time ago, and people have always tied him to this song and to this whole album, really. So he was just getting like, and he's been this A-list actor for 20 years, and yet like he could barely leave his house in the fall because all these Swifties were like egging his house and like driving him crazy.
Which is so toxic.
It's insane.
Like, that's
we
my
can all
problem
agree
with
now
Taylor
it's
Swift's
insane.
name.
It's we can all see it now that like that was truly like Taylor Swift never told you to do that. So like it was
I
crazy.
bet if I look at your tweets from November when Red came out, there would be some mean stuff to Jake Gyllenhaal.
There could be something.
Unless you better hope for that edit button.
Yeah. No, you're right.
No, it's so toxic. That's insane.
It's insane. I completely agree.
I knew this story, and I literally thought that there was more to it.
Oh, that's the point. Okay, well
yeah, there's nothing.
I'll explain the end of it, but the point kind of is that that's the point. So he like couldn't leave his house. Like he could barely promote all these huge projects that he had going on. He had to like turn comments off of his Instagram. He couldn't do anything because without getting bombarded by these Swifties. And so now he has a lot of projects coming out right now, and he's hosting SNL, which is crazy because just a few short months ago on that stage, Taylor Swift did the 10-minute All Too Well and played the video of Dylan O'Brien, who looks a lot like Jake Gyllenhaal, and heavily implied all this stuff about him and the red scarf that he supposedly still has and left at his sister's house, that whole saga. So he's hosting on April 9. And Mike Murray, our stats guru, pointed this out for us, that 4 + 9 = 13. And we just have to wonder, is there something there? Who is plotting this? I would say there's something there.
He has work coming out. SNL's on a Saturday, and they already were planning to run these Saturdays. People think too much into everything, but I mean, I won't ruin your fantasy. Yes, I think it means a lot.
Thank you. And I'm also, like, something about me, I'm an opportunist Swiftie, but I'm also the biggest Jake Gyllenhaal apologist. I don't know if I was in November, but now that I can wipe November out of my mind a little bit, I always have been. Like, Airport Sushi, his Defying Gravity moment is like, I constantly circle back to that when he flew up in the air, and that Mulaney musical sketch, it's an all-timer for me. So I love Jake Gyllenhaal, even though maybe he's a little toxic, but who isn't a little toxic? So that's all to say, it is really interesting that he's hosting because like it's this kind of elephant in the room. It's almost it's comparable to when Gerard Carmichael walked up on the stage to do his monologue last week, and he literally said like, I'm not going to talk about it. It's this huge thing, and he was referring to the slap, of course, but it really is comparable to that. It's this huge elephant in the room that like how do you even address it?
Okay, so off that, we'll get into my favorite segment because I
Yes.
feel like this might be in
This is
the
perfect.
answers. But okay, so what is the one thing everyone thinks will be on SNL this week? I'll quickly run through the myriad of topics. We've spoken about so many different things this episode, but Kanye and Coachella and the weekend Coachella is one topic. Ketanji Brown Jackson being nominated to the Supreme Court. Kourtney and Travis's pre-fake marriage something. Elon Musk and Twitter. Pete Davidson and meeting Kim's kids. Really anything Pete and Kim related because we had so much. Erica Jane and then the Grammys and this Taylor Swift, Jake Gyllenhaal stuff. So I'll start this week because I always make Nicole start. To be fair, I do think the Elon Musk being on the board of Twitter will be on Weekend Update. No joke. There are so many ways that they can make jokes, and even pulling up his past tweets and then maybe altering a tweet, like the way that they do that. I think that'll definitely be on Update. Nicole, what do you think?
What do I think? It's a great question. I'm going to just say Ketanji Brown Jackson. I want to see how they handle that and mark this new era. I want to see what they do with it. Morgan, what about you?
Well, first off, I agree with both of you. I think both of those things will be mentioned in Update or in some capacity, but I feel like they are going to make a Taylor Swift joke. Like, I mean, it's Jake Gyllenhaal, and like everyone knew that like the All Too Well, everything was about him and her. But I know
They should.
If she cameos, I will poop my pants. I will lose my mind.
No, but they should mention it because it'll blow up the internet, and that is like that is free PR. I mean, if Kim made a cameo, free PR, like they know this stuff will blow up, and to the younger crowd that they've been trying to reach, like the Gen Zers, like I think that's a good call. I think honestly, this could be one of the first weeks. I think all three responses could be on it because there's just been a lot to talk about this week.
That's
Wait,
so
do we think Pete's gonna be there or no?
Great question.
I don't know.
It's in some hybrid fashion.
Well,
like last week, he'll do a pre-tape and he won't be there live, is my guess.
If the Kardashian show premiere is Saturday night, which it likely could be, I don't think he'll be there. Like he won't be on SNL. He'll be at the premiere.
Right. I would really like to see a Kim cameo, and it's the type of thing I would say that's like out of left field, but I actually think given their promotional schedule and timeline, I do think it makes a ton of sense. So I think here's what I'll say, and then that'll be that. Between Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift, I think we will see one of them, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's going to be one of them.
Okay, I hope it is. I just don't agree.
It's crazy. I don't believe my own mouth. Like this is insane. Taylor Swift, I don't think would subject herself to that because she's a very like. She wouldn't stoop to that.
She's too calculated.
She's too calculated, and she wouldn't do it. But if she did it, it would be really funny.
Yeah.
It would be really funny.
Okay.
All
Nicole,
right. Well,
what's coming up on the SNL Network this week?
As we said, we have a very interesting episode coming up. We have Villains Week, as we have coined it over here. So Jake Gyllenhaal and Camila Cabello on SNL. We're going to have our Hot Take show Saturday night, as always, right after the show, 1:10 a.m. Eastern. John Schneider will be back in the host chair with a panel that I will be on. We'll also have Anthony Conway and Sammy Kay. It's going to be a really fun panel to talk all about this show. And then John will also host our roundtable Monday night, which will be a more in-depth kind of breakdown of the episode, and that will feature Liz Shannon Miller, Rich Tackenberg, and Sean Grant. And then we're going to have the patron feedback show, as always, which is another really fun way to break down the episode, talk about the social media stuff going on in the SNL world. And John is going to have patrons Johnny Fletcher and Carlos Rodella on that show. As always, you can join us, patreon.com/the SNL Network, if you want to be on these shows with John. It's so much fun. And then, of course, we're going to be back here next week. You can also check out the interview that we did, that John and James Stevens did with Keith Raywood last week. Keith is a longtime production designer at SNL, and he had so many amazing stories to share with us. One of my favorite parts was the Miley and Pete New Year's Eve special. He worked on that, and the stories that he had were just like mind-blowing from a production standpoint. And I think anybody listening would be really, really interested. So definitely go check that out. And yeah, so tons going on here. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Morgan, for joining us on this very hectic and fun episode. So where can people find you, and what's going on with you? What's going on?
People can find me at Morgan Killoren. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, on Twitter. Not much happening with me, but thank you guys so much for having me. I'm literally so excited. I'm going to be doing the Lizzo roundtable in like a couple weeks. So I'm just freaking out that Lizzo's even like double host musical in general. But yeah, I'm pumped.
Double duty queen.
Thank
you
you
for joining us. We will send your 2-timer jacket in the mail, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, we need some Hollywood Dish merch up in here.
Yes, we do.
We're gonna
hats,
work on that,
like some trucker hats or something.
Oh, yes. I would love. We're gonna work on it. Stay tuned, everybody.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Rebecca, where can people find you?
As always, find me at Barbecue on any social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And then obviously next Thursday here, Hollywood Dish. It'll be a really exciting episode.
Yes. And you can find me at Nicole Rovine on Sheds Tier, Twitter, TikTok, and hold the Instagram. Do not go find me on Instagram. You will not be happy with what you see. We're working on getting the HACKED situation figured out, so stay tuned. But don't follow me, but also don't unfollow me. It's very sad. Everyone's unfollowing me.
How are you doing?
How do you
I'm
fix
not doing
that?
well.
How do you feel?
In the words of Dorinda, not well, bitch. See, I know my Bravo. I'm not doing well at all. I'm working on it. I'll keep everybody posted. I think I'll figure it out. But yeah, follow me, but don't unfollow me because all these random people that I haven't seen in 15 years, I'm watching. It's very sad to see. So just keep me in your thoughts and your prayers and stick around for me, and I'll be back. And then of course you can follow us at the SNL Network on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. Reddit, we're doing a lot of stuff. We're at SNL Stats on Reddit, doing a lot of stuff there. Wherever you're listening, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, like, comment, all that jazz. Push some buttons. Help share it with somebody. Anything you do really helps people find the show, and we appreciate it. So thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.